Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido and today is the Holon Allies going up against the Kitakami Rogues, as these are the only two sides yet to win a game in the PokeType League TCG, and fittingly enough at the end of this round it'll be the only two sides who are yet to lose a game going head to head, but it is these two looking to get that first victory and get themselves away from the bottom of the leaderboard. So with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win this matchup. Will it be the Rainbow decks? Will it be the Darkness decks? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
But as we said, neither of these sides are yet to win a game, as it is that Rocket's Pursuit deck that the Rogues are starting out with. It is the Holon Allies and their Dragon's Frost deck starting off, and the Kitakami Rogues did flip heads, so they will be going first as they have that Meowth in the active spot going up against the Eevee in the Allies active spot. And Meowth was drafted to the Rogues because they did not have enough Darkness types to fill out their full roster, but only needed one more, so they were permitted to, whereas unfortunately for the Dragon and the Metal types they were unable to, so they were absorbed into the Rainbow decks, as it is the two coffins on the bench, both that Mythical Island and Genetic Apex version for the Kitakami Rogues. They do send it over to the Holon Allies, who do pull out the Frostmoth. They have the Jolteon and the Dragonite in hand, playing that Professor's Research. They get their second Dratini, the other being on the bench, plus that Giovanni, getting that first water energy there onto the Eevee. It can do 20 damage. It's going to need a lightning energy though if it wants to be doing damage as that Jolteon. And there are both Weezings in hand now for the Kitakami Rogues. They have the Genetic Apex one and the Mythical Island, and that Genetic Apex can cause the opposing Pokemon to be poisoned as they evolve the Meowth into the Persian as well, and immediately play the X speed for that 0 retreat cost. They will be pulling it back to the bench, and they are putting that Genetic Apex variant of Weezing into the active spot. Only requires 1 energy, but again, that ability, that Gas Leak, is going to leave Eevee with that poisoning, so it is going to receive 10 damage as it switches between the Rogues and Allies turns, plus that 30 damage from the tackle. We are about to see that poison take effect for the first time, so Eevee only has 20 health remaining, as it is that second Giovanni being pulled out for the Holon Allies, and in their energy zone they do have another water type energy as they evolve Eevee into Jolteon to rid it of that poisoning. But that could be crucial if they cannot get a lightning energy. This is the risk of the Rainbow deck side. They cannot guarantee which energy they will be pulling in that energy zone. And the Rogues get their second X speed now as they put that first Darkness energy onto Persian. Another Gas Leak now, as it is Jolteon being poisoned. An additional 30 damage from that tackle, so by the time that the Holon Allies start taking their turn, Jolteon only has 10 health remaining as that second Dragonite is pulled. The Holon Allies need to get a Dragonair so they can evolve one of these Dratinis. They've got the two Dragonites ready and waiting in the hand, as they are going to send it back over to the Kitakami Rogues, and there it is. That poisoning has finished Jolteon off, so the Allies need to pick which Dratini, the one who they haven't set any energy on, but they know they've got that lightning energy finally coming online soon, as the Giovanni being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues in this Rocket's Pursuit deck, and they immediately opt to play it as well. But not before they use that Gas Leak. This time it is going to poison Dratini here, so that 40 damage thanks to that additional 10 being added by the Giovanni card, and that 10 from the poisoning, and already Dratini only has 10 health left. But finally the Holon Allies have pulled the Dragonair so they can get that lightning energy onto it. Now they will not be able to retreat the Dratini, so it is an easy target for the Weezing. But what this does mean is on the next turn they can evolve that Dragonair into the Dragonite. The Rogues pulling out the Ekans. They have the Arbok in hand as well, and they're deciding what to do with this Darkness energy, clearly opting to start setting up the Ekans in preparation for the Arbok. But this tackle from Weezing is going to finish off the Dratini, and already the Rogues have got 2 points in this first game. And like we said, neither of these sides have won a series yet. These best of 3 series where all decks do get played, the Dragonite has been put into the active spot, and they do have that Dragonite ready and waiting to go. And as we always say, all 3 games do count towards the leaderboard, even if a side loses the series in the first 2 games. But here it is, they're using the Giovanni. It will only do the additional 10 if it hits the Weezing in that active spot. but 200 damage, 100 to the benched Weezing, and 100 to the Ekans. So the Ekans is taken off the board. That is a point for the Hollow allies. But this Dragonite is so powerful. The second Persian being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues, as the Rogues really need to think about how they're going to get this Dragonite offline in time before that Draco Meteor eventually takes out another 2 of their Pokemon. They get the Gas Leak onto the Dragonite that will be doing that passive damage, plus the tackle for that 30 additional damage, but it's just not going to be that much at the moment, especially with what that Dragonite can pull out. There is the Professor's Research for the Holon allies, so they are going to get those 2 cards out of their deck. They get the second Dragonair, but that is too late, and they get the Frostmoth, but the 2 Snoms are still in the deck. There is the Potion being played for the Holon allies, getting that 20 health back on a Dragonite. They add the additional Lightning Energy just for the sake of it, and it is that Draco Meteor, 100 onto Weezing, taking out the Weezing in the bench as well, but that active spot Weezing was the one that received the 100 damage, plus an additional 50 onto the Persian, so they still get one more chance to do the Kitakami Rogues as they pull the Koga out of their deck. But it is not looking good. There is 30 health between the 2 Pokemon in play for the Kitakami Rogues. They're going to play the XP, they're going to get that Persian into the active spot. They will be doing 40 damage. Now we know this is not going to win them the game, but that additional damage will be tallied towards the leaderboard. They know they are about to lose game 1. Dragonite is about to run through Persian and Weezing. It could take out both of them, and if it gets those 2, it will be 4 points that the Holon allies actually get for this game towards the leaderboard. They're going to use the Giovanni for the additional 10 if it hits the Persian. This could do 200 damage to the Weezing, even though it only requires 10. They're not worrying about the energy. Draco Meteor, 210 on Persian, 100 on Weezing, 220 damage, and the Holon allies have taken game 1 thanks to the power that Dragonite brings. And with that, I cannot wait for the Dragon types to be able to field a team in the PokeType League TCG. Sorry, as I try to get at my words, it is the red and blue deck going up against the Poison Pins deck of the Kitakami Rogues. They place that Eevee into the active spot for the Holon allies as the Rogues think about which Nidoran they want to play. They've also got the Zubat as well. They place the Nidoran male plus the Zubat on the bench and the Nidoran female on the bench. It is the Nidoran male going up against the Eevee. As the Holon allies did flip heads, they will be going first. They've got those 2 red cards in hand, plus the Sabrina and the X-Speed as they pull the Starmie, so they've only got the 1 Pokemon in the active spot at the moment. And if they have no bench Pokemon and they lose that Eevee, they'll lose game 2 as that second Nidoran female is pulled for the Kitakami Rogues. They get the energy onto the Nidoran male and immediately go for the Peck, a fantastic Pokemon. Actually, 2 fantastic Pokemon going head to head at the moment, as the Druddigon is pulled for the Holon allies that requires both a fire and a water energy, plus an additional energy to start doing damage. But Eevee for the red and blue deck can be evolved into Flareon. They do not have that in hand yet, but they play that red card, so it is going to shuffle those 3 cards in the Kitakami Rogue's hand, and they get 3 other cards, 2 Pokeballs, and the Professor's Research now in hand for the Kitakami Rogues, as Eevee can go for the tackle onto Nidoran male. And they've opted not to play that Sabrina on that turn, as it is going to be the Rogues pulling a Golbat back into hand. That is fantastic for them, as that Golbat has the potential to take Eevee out of this matchup if they choose to put it in the active spot. They play both Pokeballs. They get a Nidoran female on the first one. They play the second one and get their second Zubat. And they can play that Professor's Research. They are thinning this deck very quickly as they pull the Nidoking and the Golbat, but they are unaware that there is that second red card in hand for the Holon allies, who you have to think are going to play that once again just to try and disrupt the Kitakami Rogues. But they are going to retreat that Nidoran male to put the Golbat into that active spot, and it is going to take this Eevee out, getting the Kitakami Rogues that first point, and they do not want to lose this game. If they do, they will lose the series, and they will be the only team in the PokeType League TCG yet to win a series. as it is that blue being pulled for the Holon Allies, the support card, but here it is, that red card being played for the Holon Allies just to try and disrupt the Kitakami Rogues. It is the only deck in the PTL TCG that contains those 2 red cards, and it's the 2 Nidokings and the Nidoqueen being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues, as that first energy is placed on for the Holon Allies, and they're going to play that blue supporter card, so Druddigon will take 10 less damage from the Kitakami Rogues in the next turn, and with that rough skin ability as well, if Golbat chooses to go on the offensive, it will get 20 recoil damage from Druddigon, as that first energy is put on to that Nidorino that was just pulled for the Kitakami Rogues. That wing attack only doing 30 to Druddigon, and in return that rough skin does 20 to Golbat. And there is that second EV card being pulled for the Holon Allies. They immediately put that onto the bench as a second fire energy onto Druddigon. They need a water energy though that is not going to be produced on the next turn. That is not good for the Holon Allies if they want to go on the offensive with this Druddigon. There's that second Golbat being put onto the Zubat on the bench, plus Nidoking has been set online for the Kitakami Rogues. Another wing attack from Golbat onto Druddigon, 40 damage this time, another 20 recoil onto Golbat there. It has 30 remaining, but Druddigon with only 30 remaining itself is such an easy target. And it is Staryu being pulled from the deck for the Holon Allies, immediately putting it onto the bench, but they need to think Druddigon is going to be eliminated on the next turn. It is their most powerful Pokemon online at the moment. They do not have a Flareon in hand as the Professor's research for the Kitakami Rogues. Again, thinning that deck, another 2 cards being pulled, this time the Nidorina. 2 Nidorinas in fact, and they've got that Nidorina female on the bench immediately being evolved. They've got the Nidoqueen in hand as they're going to retreat the Golbat, put that Nidoking into the active spot, get that third energy, and they're going to take Druddigon out with this Poison Horn, doing 90 damage. Trying to offset some of that damage that Dragonite was doing in the game 1. There is that recoil damage though for Nidoking here, but that is 2 points for the Kitakami Rogues, still 0 points for the Holon Allies here in game 2 as they send out Staryu. They've got the Starmie in hand, and they've just gotten that second Staryu from their deck, and they put that water energy here onto Staryu. Starmie only requires 1 to do 40 damage here, and they're going to play that Sabrina to try and send Nidoking back to the bench, but surely it is going to be put back into that active spot very soon, as it's the Golbat that's still at full strength for the Kitakami Rogues being put into the active spot on the receiving end of a Wave Splash, doing that 40 damage, but it does not look like the Kitakami Rogues are going to drop any points here. They can retreat this Golbat, put that Nidoking into the active spot, and take Starmie out with another 90 damage to level this series at 1 game apiece. And with that, we are going to a game 3 to find out which one of these sides will win their first game ever in PokeType League TCG history. And this time it will be that liquid metal deck for the Holon Allies that only actually produces metal energies, going up against the toxic energy deck of the Kitakami Rogues, who have flipped heads, so they're going first. They put that Venipede into the active spot. They've also got the Grimer, putting that onto the bench. It's Mawile going into the active spot for the Holon Allies as their only basic Pokemon. And as we said, the Rogues flipped heads, so they're going first. They've got 2 Liepars in their hand, plus that Whirlipede, so they have to send it across to the Holon Allies, who pull a Pawniard, and they've got the 2 Professor's Research immediately playing one of them. They've also got that Bishop already in hand as they pull the Pokeball and the Melmetal. They can play that Pokeball as well. Surely they want the Meltan to help set up the Melmetal, and they are able to get that out of their deck. And we see the Meltan and the Pawniard immediately being placed onto the bench, but Mawile does receive the energy, so it can go immediately on the offensive with that Crunch, doing 20 damage to Venipede. And it is Koga being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues with that Whirlipede being set up, put online in the active spot for the Kitakami Rogues. 20 health being restored thanks to the potion, and it only requires 1 energy to do this poison thing. But in the case of the TCG, metal type Pokemon can be poisoned, so Mawile is going to be left with that status condition, chipping away at its health, doing that additional 10 damage. And it's the second Meltan now being pulled for the Holland Allies as they immediately play their second Professor's Research. They have got 2 Vaporeons in hand and they've got the Misty. They just need to get the Eevee. It is the only way they can get Water types energies onto that Vaporeon. As they start setting up the Bishop, having evolved that Pawniard now, it requires 2 energy, but the Crunch is going to do another 20 damage to Whirlipede, but also if they get the heads, unfortunately they get the tails, but if it was the heads, they could have discarded a random energy from Whirlipede, and with only 1 energy on it, that would have been taken off, as Whirlipede will be able to take more while out here, but with Bishop on the bench for the Holland Allies, they can finish off Whirlipede, but they're opting to put a second energy onto Whirlipede. They're going to play that X speed to retreat it to the bench, putting that Grimer back in, putting the Grimer into the active spot. They clearly want to try and get the Scolipede online, but they don't have that in hand yet. But with that, this allows Mawile to stay on in that active spot with that poisoning still there, but they will be able to retreat it here to try and keep it in the game and not drop any points as they do put that Bishop into the active spot. This will be able to take out Grimer with a one-hit wonder. Grimer has been taken out and the Holland Allies have gotten their first point in Game 3 to take the lead. And with no other choice, the Kitakami Rogues do put the Whirlipede into the active spot. They pull their second Grimer as well, but still they don't want to give up this Whirlipede. I am sure they've retreated it once, but this time they've got no X speed, so they just go with the Poison Sting, doing 20 damage to the Bishop. That is now going to be left with that Poison doing the additional 10 damage, but now Bishop can take out Whirlipede in 1 hit. They play the Pokeball first, do the Holland Allies, getting that second Pawniard from their deck, as they're opting to start setting up the Meltan, and if Melmetal gets online, it will do massive damage. But first, Bishop is going to finish off Whirlipede. I don't know if the Kitakami Rogues are going to get the chance to see a Melmetal online. It's the second point for the Holland Allies. They are in full control in Game 3 as they look to get their first ever victory here in the PTL TCG. Finally, that Purloin being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues. They've got the 2 Limepards in hand. Grimer is going to do 10 damage to an already poisoned Bishop, but Bishop has those 2 energies on it ready to go. The poisoning is not enough to finish it off. They just have to go on the offensive now, and they can take Grimer out of this game and continue that losing streak for the Kitakami Rogues, who are yet to win a series here in Season A1. But the Holland Allies have finally gotten their first victory, and immediately this moves them up into the top 5, into one of those victory road spots, but the Rogues sitting well on the bottom of the leaderboard. But with that said, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought the best card was, and if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, send thanks, and I'll see you when you see me.